Hello and welcome to the God Is podcast. I'm super excited about this. Welcome to the last podcast of 2019. It is New Year's Eve, and I want you guys to know going into 2020, my goal is to make this podcast a morning podcast that I put out every before noon, and it's going to be less than 15 minutes. So I got a timer over here. I'm going to do my best to keep on time so that we can get it quick, bite-sized pieces of the Bible for you every single day. So God is forgiveness. Let's dive in here. We're going to be in Matthew 18. This is the parable of the unforgiving debtor, the unforgiving debtor. So we're going to be right here, Matthew 18, verse 21. And I'm just going to start reading because this is really mind-blowing to me, and we'll get into it. Then Peter came to ask him, this is Jesus, he's asking, Lord, how often should I forgive someone who sins against me? 7 times? No, Jesus replies, no, not 7 times, but 70 times 7. 70 times 7. And this is crazy, and this is something I really am excited I get to talk about going into 2020, because I think there's a lot of us out here going into 2020 where we have goals, we have resolutions, we want things to change. But in reality, when we think about what we want to change, are we really getting to the core? Because I think a lot of us we're praying for more peace, less stress. And it's one of those things that I think so many times if we just forgive people, and we truly forgive people like God forgives people, we could remove that stress in 2020. But let's see what Jesus says here. Therefore, so we're at verse 23. Therefore, the kingdom of heaven can be compared to a king who decided to bring his accounts up to date with servants who had borrowed money from him. In the process, one of his debtors was brought in who owed him millions of dollars. Okay, because I know we all got problems. But who's got people owing you millions of dollars? Who's got people with millions of dollars of stress? Maybe it's millions of dollars of family problems. Maybe it's millions of dollars of all these stresses of life, of work, of relationships, of dealing with people people that you don't want to deal with. Right? We have all these stresses in life, but right here, we're getting an example where somebody owes him millions of dollars. So I want to think right now, especially, I don't know, look at your bank account. You think if someone owed you millions of dollars, would you want it right now? Would you be frustrated? If they owed you millions of dollars, would you be going into 2020 saying, Lord, please just give me grace that I don't kill somebody? I don't know, that might be, that's kind of how I think. And it's so we're right here in verse 25. He couldn't pay. So his master ordered him that he be sold, along with his wife, his children, and everything he owned to pay the debt. Oh, man. That doesn't put fear into you. That puts fear into me. But the man fell down before the master and begged him, please be patient with me and I will pay it all. Then his master was filled with pity for him, and he released him and forgave his debt. That's crazy. He forgave him. He didn't sell him off. He didn't do all those horrible things. But when the man left the king, and this is so funny because this is so real. And when I read the Bible and I read what Jesus says, I'm like, whoa, was Jesus living in 2019? I feel like Jesus was watching my life in 2019, because I don't know how many times I begged for forgiveness from God. I went to God and I begged for forgiveness, and then I turned around and I wasn't forgiving to other people. Maybe that's just me. Maybe that was just my 2019, but I know there are so many times that this has happened to me in my life where I've been at a point where I'm just like praying to God, like, please give me what I want. Please, 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 please look out for me. Please take care of me. And then God does take care of me. But then I turn around to other people and I'm like, hey, right now, this and guys, I'm telling you, this is, and I'm trying to keep on time. So this is going to be a process getting used to. So we're right here in 28. But when the man left the king, he went to his fellow servants who owed him a few $1,000s. You have a debt of millions of dollars, and you're going to the people who owe you a couple thousand. He grabbed him by the throat and demanded instant payment. The guy who was just on his knees, begging, is now the force demanding the payment. Now this is getting crazy, right? 29. His fellow servant fell down before him and begged for a little more time. Be patient with me and I will pay it, he pleaded. But his creditor wouldn't wait. He had the man arrested and put in prison until the debt could be paid. Now, here's one thing I want you to know and I want you to think about. So many of us look at this from the perspective of we're the good person. We're the good person. We always assume like, man, this guy's so harsh. How could he do that? How could he do something like that? Well, I'm going to tell you guys, so many times in my life, I've looked at my life and I've said, oh, I'm doing the thing that Jesus is talking about here. I'm actually the person doing the bad. Now, we're talking about going into 2020. We're talking about forgiveness here. So I want you to think, like what's being said here, how many times have you asked for forgiveness? And if you've never asked for forgiveness, maybe this doesn't apply to you, but I'm pretty sure every single Christian that I ever spoke to has prayed to God for forgiveness. Lord, forgive me for my sins. We are all sinners. We've all prayed for forgiveness. And I need you right now to make a list, not right now during this podcast, right after this podcast, make a list of all the people that you need to forgive. All the people that are stressing you out, that frustrate you, maybe they're your enemies, they're all these people that make you angry, bring negativity into your life, and I need you to write that down on a list. And I need you to pray for them. And I need you to forgive them. And you're like, Chance, I can't do it. I can't do it, Chance. I can't write it down. I can't pray. I'm telling you, do it. Pray for your enemies. Pray for those who are stressing you out. And forgive all of them. Let's keep reading. But remember that. We're getting right here to the end, 31. When some of the other servants saw this, they were very upset. They went to the king and told him everything that had happened. Then the king called in the man he had forgiven and said, "You evil servant. Do you want God to call you in and call you like this? Like, this scares me. Imagine getting called into God. Imagine you think you did everything right. You die. You get called to God. And the first thing he says, you evil servant. I forgave you the tremendous debt because you pleaded with me. Shouldn't you have mercy on your fellow servant? Just as I have had mercy on you." Now imagine God saying this. Imagine God saying this to you. And thank God he put it in the Bible. Thank God he put it in the Bible so that in 2019, going into 2020, the last day of 2019, we can hear this. And we can hear that if we don't forgive our enemies, if we don't forgive our fellow servants, our fellow people, our fellow brothers and sisters, like, you have to understand this. If you cannot forgive them the way God forgives us, and you don't have to be perfect because you're not God. It's not going to be like magic. It happens overnight. It's going to be a process of forgiveness. It's going to take time. You're going to have to pray for them over and over and over again. You're going to have to constantly be working at forgiving them until finally you forgive them. I heard some people are like, what is forgiveness? What is forgiveness? And I heard this in one of my Bible studies, and they said forgiveness is when you can truly, full-heartedly wish good for that person. That's true forgiveness. When you can full-heartedly, praying with all your spirit, wish good upon that person. Every day, not just one day. So, can you forgive? Because if you forgive, like let me finish this out here. Verse 34. We have 2 verses left. Then the angry king sent the man to prison to be tormented until he paid his entire debt. We all know God's prison is hell. I'm not trying to go there and get tormented. All right, 35. That's what my heavenly Father will do to you if you refuse to forgive your brothers and sisters from your heart. God said he's going to put you in hell if you don't forgive. Jesus said it. Jesus said it. I didn't say it. Jesus said it. I mean, I don't know. Wherever you think God's prison is, where he tortures you, pretty sure that's hell. So we need to forgive other people. And I have 5 minutes left, and I want to get into this. Ecclesiastes 6. There's somebody else we need to forgive. And I think a lot of us going into 2020, we need to forgive God. We need to forgive God. And I just want to read this real quick. I got 3 verses out of Ecclesiastes 6. We're going to do 1 and 2, and then we're going to scroll down to 9. So 1 is, there is another serious tragedy I have seen under the sun. Now, if you guys haven't read Ecclesiastes, this is my favorite book of the Bible. Like, this is my favorite one. This is where King David's son, the king of all the land, he goes out and he seeks for fulfillment. He goes out and sees what is the purpose of life. He searches his entire life. He has all the riches. He has all the women. He has all the food. He has all the success, the wealth. He has everything. And he goes out and searches his entire life for the purpose. And it's crazy because if you have not read this, you need to dive into Ecclesiastes. Go get the Bible app, listen to it. NLT, I always suggest this, New Living Translation. I would strongly suggest you listen to the New Living Translation. But then hop in Ecclesiastes, read it. And it's not very long. Go start to finish. Go start to finish. I'm telling you, turn on the audio, listen to it. It'll be awesome. Okay. There is a serious tragedy I have seen under the sun, and it weighs heavily on humanity. God gives some people greater wealth and honor and everything they could ever want, but then he doesn't give them the chance to enjoy these things. They die, and someone else, even strangers, end up with their wealth. This is meaningless. A sickening tragedy. And I want you guys to understand this, because not only is it that people get it and they don't get to enjoy it, and we can talk about that a little bit, but I more want to focus on the fact that other people get it and you don't. Let me scroll down here. Let's read verse 9, and then I'm going to close this out. 9. Enjoy what you have rather than desiring what you don't have. Just dreaming about nice things is meaningless, like chasing the wind. Now, I'm going to kind of ruin the end of Ecclesiastes for you, but it says it over and over in the chapter. So once you're reading it, you're going to figure it out. What the final purpose of life, after all the searching, he realized that the purpose of life is following God and listening to God and loving God and worshiping God and making the best of the life you have here on earth. Now, God has blessed every single one of us with something. I know we have a lot of struggles, but I want you to take some time. This is New Year's Eve. I want you to take some time, and I want you to look into 2020, and I want you to realize that God has given you gifts to bless the world. God has given you the ability to work in your purpose. And I'm telling you, if you go looking for it, and you go searching for it, and you go recap, and you go find ways, God's going to do amazing things in your 2020. But I think there's some of you who are jealous. I think there are some of you who are envious. I think there are some of you who wish 2019 was the year. I think there's some of you who maybe even listening to this has been hard because you've given up on your faith. There's some of you who have, there's a lot of different people, and I want you to understand that when it comes down to it, God is the answer. And if he didn't play it your way, it was better that way. I don't blame God for my depression. I thank God for it because it turned me into the person I am today. And you need to do the same thing. So many of us are so quick to get angry at God. We're so quick to blame God that we do not realize it's more on us than we think. And we need to forgive God because all he's doing is working all things in our favor. He's working everything. He's putting you through these lows so you can survive the highs. He's putting you in this depression so you can be a light to the world. He's putting you in this financial struggle so you can bless generations. He's putting you in your trials so you can be a champion. And the best part is he puts you in such a low point so that you realize he's the only reason that you are a champion. The only reason I am where I am today is because of God. The only reason I have the opportunities I have today is because of God. He is lining everything up for me. I'm just out here acting. I'm just out here living my life. I'm just out here showing up every single day and trying to become a better disciple. I challenge you to do the same. 2020, let's get closer to God. 2020, I'm going to do my best to dedicate my mornings to giving you at least a 15-minute. 15 minutes is all up, so we're ending it right now. But I'm going to do my best to give you this 15-minute podcast. So please like, subscribe. Make sure you click the little bell. And I'm also going to be coming out with some other stuff so you guys can keep updated. But that'll be coming soon. So thank you so much for listening. Again, 15-minute God Is podcast coming daily, showing you who God really is. Have a great one, everybody.